Hello listeners, welcome to this weekly installment of Another Point of View, the show that discusses anything and everything. Let's get the ball rolling today by talking about why nature hates us. Alligators, arguably nature's rulers of the swamps, or rather, I guess it depends what region of the world you're in. And I guess if there's an invasive species too. Regardless, alligators are not to be taken lightly. That's a sure way to end up losing a limb, or worse. Before we discuss what alligators did to end up getting featured on this segment, let's cover some characteristic information about alligators. There are currently 2 known living species of alligators. They are categorized as either the American alligator or the Chinese alligator. American alligators normally grow to be about 4.5 meters from head to tail and weigh nearly 1,000 pounds. But they can reach larger sizes. Chinese alligators are smaller, and they rarely grow longer than 2.5 meters, and they weigh considerably less. As their names suggest, these alligators are native only to the United States of America and China. The species we're focusing on is the American alligator, the more dangerous of the two, not only because of their physical difference, but also because the Chinese alligator is actually so endangered, it is believed there are currently more in captivity than there are in the wild. On the other side of the coin, the American alligator is very much on top of its game and quite abundant in its several habitats. These habitats include the entirety of the states of Florida and Louisiana, southern parts of Mississippi, coastal parts of the Carolinas, East Texas, southern corner of Oklahoma, and a small part of Arkansas. In Florida alone, there are an average of 6 reported incidents a year of alligators biting humans. As far as known fatal attacks go before this past week, since the 1970s, there were a total of 22 known fatal attacks. Alligators are notorious for eating anything they can bite into, and the list of victims indicates they aren't very picky. The list was just about even as far as the number of men attacked versus the number of women attacked. It was at 12 men and 10 women. The age ranges are diverse. They've killed kids under the age of 10, older people in their 80s and 70s, middle-aged people, and everyone in between. Most of the victims were naturally swimming in water when they were attacked, though there are a few victims who were attacked just for walking near a watery shore or wetland area. The majority of the people were minding their own business, like 4-year-old girl Erin Glover, who was just walking along the shore of a lake in Florida in 1988, and then was suddenly attacked by an alligator. Then there are the few people who were kind of looking for trouble, like Paul Mirabito, the 27-year-old who was attacked and killed while diving in the water and purposely harassing small alligators. That in mind, as of this Friday, the number of known fatalities by alligators has gone up by 1. The victim, 28-year-old Tommy Woodward, falls under the second previously mentioned category of kind of looking for trouble. You see, Tommy and an unidentified woman were swimming in a bayou in East Texas early Friday morning, which would be a harmless activity if it weren't for the problem that that same bayou had posted warning signs indicating that alligators were in the water and it was not safe to go swimming in the water. Now, the first thing that came to mind when I heard about the warning sign was maybe they didn't see the sign. Apparently, not only was Tommy aware of the warning, he and the unidentified woman blatantly disregarded it. Tommy had been informed about the warning sign and warned verbally by bystanders that a 10-foot alligator had been seen in the waters earlier that week, and one bystander even pleaded with him not to go in the water. But for some strange reason, he must have really wanted to go into the water, because not only did he disregard the warning, he seemed to have mocked the alligators before doing so, as he was reported to have said, "Fuck the alligators," before jumping in for a dip in the water. He was immediately attacked by an alligator and dragged into the water and has since died. You know, It's stories like this that, while they do reinforce the fact that nature does indeed hate us, it sometimes makes you to wonder whether the hate is justified or not. Alright, enough about vicious animals. Time to discuss what's happening now. Sort of. Today's segment focuses on an individual who is considered to be the creator and founder of what I consider the greatest thing in sports ever. I'm of course referring to cheerleading. Seriously, cheerleading is the best thing to ever happen in sports. Cheerleading is an intense physical activity. It involves yelling, dancing, jumping, cheering, obviously, and stunts. And its purpose is to motivate a sports team, entertain an audience, or serve as its own means of competition in of itself. That's right, since 1997, cheerleading is technically its own sport, as there are competitions and championships broadcasted on the Entertainment and Sports Programming Network, also known as ESPN. And I'd like to think that cheerleading is the greatest sport in the world, based on the fact that cheerleading is so great that other sports have to ride its coattails. Why else would sports like baseball, football, and basketball occur in the same vicinity as where the cheerleaders are performing? This is just my opinion, but they're clearly trying to win over the audience's attention away from the cheerleaders. I mean, think of it this way. You're in the audience, coming to see the cheerleading event, and then off to the side suddenly you see a bunch of guys moving around and battling for control of a ball. And for some reason there's a scoreboard keeping track of arbitrary points. And then you discover that that also constitutes as a sport. The whole thing captures your interest for a few minutes in the same way that two cats fighting over a ball of yarn would, before you remember, oh right, cheerleaders. Okay, in all seriousness though, let's cover the backstory to cheerleading's roots. Organized cheerleading originates from the United States of America during the late 19th century. Surprisingly, organized cheerleading started as an all-male activity. But by golly, women weren't going to be left out of this great activity, and in 1923, the University of Minnesota started admitting women to be cheerleaders. Women started taking over the activity of cheerleading in the 1940s when collegiate men were drafted for World War II, and it was in 1948 that Lawrence Herkimer established the National Cheerleaders Association, also known as the NCA, in Huntsville, Texas, which set up organized cheerleading camps, set up uniforms, and developed cheerleading equipment, including the spirit stick and even patenting the pom-poms. Herkimer even has a specific cheer named after him called the Herky. Herkimer's first cheerleading camp had 52 girls and 1 boy attend. Since those humble beginnings, cheerleading has really taken off in popularity over the decades, and it, along with the participation of women as cheerleaders, has come a long way. As of 2005, it is estimated that overall, 97% of all modern cheerleading participants are female. Cheerleading has even become a profession that a person can make a living off of. Indeed, cheerleading has come a long way, and it is unfortunate that the man and legend who is recognized as the founder who started it all, Lawrence Herkimer, passed away recently. Thank you, Herky. Even as someone who doesn't really consider himself a sports fan, I can seriously say I appreciate your contribution to the world of sports. Now then, we've discussed biology, extracurricular activities. I think it's safe to say we can wrap this up with a session on literature and history. Here's a recommendation. I don't think the document I'm about to recommend can be better introduced than with the most famous excerpt from it, which goes as follows. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I'm of course referring to the document that declared a revolution back in 1776. That document being the Declaration of Independence, written by Thomas Jefferson and later edited by Congress. If you're an American listener right now who hasn't read this document, or worse, isn't even familiar with it, I heavily suggest reading it. Well now, just to recap, I discussed the American Alligator, the mostly American activity known as cheerleading, and the American Declaration of Independence. Wow, that's a lot of America for one episode. It's almost like there was some kind of American holiday recently. Anyways, see you folks next week.